Avowed, the countless award-winning, critically acclaimed, IGN certified 10 out of 10, a banger made by the same people who created Fallout New Vegas. And you didn't play it. I'm just joking. Honestly, no one played it. And I'm serious. I mean, literally, no one played it. It was dead on arrival, and it literally lost more than half of its player base in less than 12 hours after the release. It was bad. And guess what? As per typical modern day nonsense, Avowed is getting a follow up. Avowed 2 is happening, boys. Now, granted, I will say this. If you are new to this channel, maybe you did not know it, but real OGs know that roughly 6 months ago, I actually talked about the fact that Avowed 2 is probably happening. Even though it was an absolute financial disaster and flop, Avowed 2 is pretty much almost 100% guaranteed to happen. But the Outer Worlds 3, now that's probably not happening for at least a decade or more at this point. And guess what? Your boy was right. I don't know how this happens. It must be a gift. Very humble. Thank you for noticing it. If anyone comments that I have a Ruby Rose haircut, I will scream, by the way. In any case, Avowed did do one thing impressively, though I have to be completely honest. It was absolutely, without question, the greatest bait and switch in gaming, at least for a decade. I mean, seriously, if you haven't seen the Avowed official announcement trailer, I mean, just watch this.
We have always known war. It forged our empire. Turned heroes into queens and kings. And decimated our foes. Now our oaths are lost, forsaken. And you must face the monsters our sins have borne.
That's some Balrog vibes right there. But anyway, that's it. That was the official announcement trailer for Avowed. I am not kidding you when I say this was the greatest bait and switch in a decade. I was initially a fan of this thing when it dropped. It looked good, but slowly more gameplay after thing after thing. Yeah, at some point I started saying this thing's just dead on arrival. And guess what? It was. You have seen the you have probably seen the things and whatnot. And it's pretty interesting. According to former Obsidian co-founder Chris Avellone, a sequel to Avowed is already in development. And by the way, I'm gonna explain to you why it was actually very obvious that Avowed is gonna get a sequel. Actually, all of that was very plainly right in front of you. Oh, misclick. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering how Avowed looks now, if you haven't seen it, yeah, this is Avowed. This is what we got. Well, someone got it. I didn't buy it, needless to say. I don't buy the trash that I call trash, by the way. Yeah, I have self-restraint. Avalon says veteran RPG designer George Zeitz is leading the project. Zeitz previously worked on games like Neverwinter Night 2, Mask of the Betrayer, and Pillars of Eternity. Absolutely. This is literally a one more Judas. This is the game Judas. It's the BioShock thing. This is literally just one more Exodus. It's the same spiel. Like, look at George Zeitz in Moby Games. We can see what the guy has done, okay? The last thing that this guy was a part of, effectively, was Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium, if you're not aware, is literally a communism or LARP fucking fantasy. That's what Disco Elysium is. Special thanks. Yeah, I'm so excited. And after that, it was Dungeons and Dragons Neverwinter Night 2 Enhanced Edition, and he was the Act 2 area designer. There's not a lot to design in Act 2, let me tell you that right now. And before that, there was Pentiment. I have no idea what that even is. Wasteland 3, which was not great. And before that, then we have the typical spiel of, oh, this person did something almost neat 10 years ago at this point. Literally. Literally. Okay, and if we ignore, by the way, Pillars of Eternity at this point and Torment Tides of Numenera, then honestly, this guy hasn't done anything for fucking 20 years. 20 years! This guy has literally not done anything for 20 years except Pillars of Eternity, okay? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not exactly excited about this. If you have seen also his picture, he looks pretty young, by the way, which means he probably has taken a lot of those slop injections at this point. And the thing is about Avowed 2 being a real thing, people are pretty surprised that it's happening. Cancel it, throw it in the trash, put resources into a game consumers actually want. This doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people. That somehow Avowed 2 is happening even though it was clearly a financial disaster. Again, I talked about this 6 years ago when there were the first rumors about the idea that Avowed 2 could happen. This actually all makes perfect financial sense. As always, boys, finance is the strongest force in the universe, and your boy has it. In any case, this is what effectively is going on. Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, they were both on Game Pass for Microsoft, aka Xbox, which means that their budgets were pretty much subsidized by that company. Obsidian, company that literally hasn't done anything useful since Fallout New Vegas, somehow did 2 AAA releases at the same time. They're never doing that without Microsoft money. So technically, this company is not actually running in a deficit in the books, which means they are probably going to do something. But needless to say, considering the woeful performance of Avowed, and I'm being nice here, and the woeful performance of The Outer Worlds 2, again being nice here, because I'm going to be really not nice in a couple of seconds, they're not going to allow them to make 2 of them. You need to pick. And the thing is, when you need to pick between one of 3 options, and there's only 3 options here. 1 is make Avowed 2. 2 is make The Outer Worlds 3. And 3 is make a completely new IP or work on something. That could be Fallout New Vegas technically, but we all know how devastatingly bad of an idea that is, letting modern day trash Obsidian actually touch Fallout. Jesus Christ, no. So, those are the only 3 options that we are left. And we can easily figure out the most likely thing that's happening. And if there's no potential prospects of a completely new IP, which they have nowhere to find, unless Xbox just throws it in their direction, then that would most likely actually be Fallout New Vegas in some form. But considering how much the CEO of Obsidian has come out over the years and said, man, we really want to make Fallout New Vegas too, if only someone gave us the chance, we know that that's not happening. We know that that has not been given to them, because if it was, then he would not be constantly doing interview after interview saying how much he wants to do a Fallout IP once again. So yeah, we know that that's off the table. So a new IP, not likely happening. So now we just need to figure out which is more likely. Avowed, with a measly 19k concurrent players on Steam, or The Outer Worlds 2 with a measly 18k players on Steam. And needless to say, a lot of you are probably thinking, well, if you have to choose between these, it's probably Avowed, right? Yes, it's Avowed like 50 times over, and I'm not even lying, because you need to understand, The Outer Worlds 2 is The Outer Worlds 2. It's not The Outer Worlds 1, which is an actual major factor. Here's what I have not been saying all this time. The Outer Worlds 2 probably has underperformed roughly in the ballpark of 3 to even 6 times, I would say, under the expected sales. Now, there is no one else saying this but me, but I think it's pretty obvious because we have comparisons. This is the Elder World 2, 18K players. This is the Elder World 1, 20K players. And people who have watched this channel already know what I'm gonna say next. The Elder Worlds 1 came to Steam 3 years or something more after its original debut release, which means that Steam got the scraps of its sales. And these fucking scraps were still more than the Outer Worlds' full 100% launch on Steam. You need to understand how bad that is. Your second installation in the franchise, which was bigger and better in every way possible, Lamau. This just proves sprinkling shit on a shit still makes it a shit, not a cake. Cake with a candle. Well, if you know, you know. Anyway, it just shows the Outer Worlds 2 how drastically it underperformed. It underperformed its first installation by 2K concurrent players with a fucking head start. Can you imagine how many copies of the Other Worlds 2 would be selling on Steam in its peak player base if it... Well, it's not even 1 year old. It's 6 months, 7 months old at this point. But can you imagine if Outer Worlds did not come out on Steam and, 2 years after this it released? You think it would even have 1K concurrent players? I don't think so. I really don't even think so. Well, okay, maybe 2K. Let's be nice. Okay, let's be nice. Yeah, it's a disaster. The Outer Worlds 2 proved that the Outer Worlds was never even an actual IP. And this means that making Avowed 2 is the only shot because while Avowed is not really a new IP, it's based on the Pillars of Eternity franchise. Effectively, for speaking in completely realistic terms, that Avowed is the same as a completely new IP to pretty much the whole world, even though it's technically not. So the fact that a completely new IP sold slightly better than something that exists just means that, yeah, there's no point in doing the Outer Worlds 3 at this point. Okay? We're gonna have to wait 5 years when a bunch of idiots start making, was the Outer Worlds 2 actually as bad as people remember? And then people with slop fucking loving taste are gonna tell you, well, actually, none of these gameplay things that the Outer Worlds 2 provided us were really fun. And this is how we get the Outer Worlds 3 when Xbox is even more desperate than they already are. Yeah, that's when we get Outer Worlds 2. But for now, it is obviously Avowed 2. There is literally no other option. There was literally no other option 6 months ago when first I actually saw someone speaking about the fact that Avowed 2 could be possible. So yeah, that's the situation. Avowed 2, well, it's not going to be headed by my wife, Carrie Patel, who I do love. She is a lovely looking woman and I would like to have baby. That's neither here nor there, by the way. I'm just saying. Carrie, hit me up. It is what it is. Even though Avowed failed, you didn't fail in my heart. Anyway, someone please tag her. Okay, and Outer Worlds 2 is made by someone who unironically had his prime in high school. What a great time to be alive. So, hopefully Avowed 2 decides that Anita Sarkeesian should get the job, and at least it's gonna be funny. That's the conclusion of this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a nice day. Bye.